Forests are fundamental to human civilization. They provide us with timber, food, clean air, and water. And yet, despite their importance, we're losing forests at an alarming rate. But what if we could turn deserts into forests? Not only would this help fight climate change, but it could also help feed and water millions of people. In today's video, we're going to explore how scientists are turning deserts green, one tree at a time. So stay tuned. In 2018, researchers from China published a paper in the journal Nature that outlined a plan to cover 4,500 square kilometers of desert in western China with trees. That's an area roughly the size of Los Angeles County. The project, which began in 2011, aimed to create a forest so large that it would be visible from space. As of 2018, they had planted more than 66 million trees over 330,000 hectares of desert. That's enough trees to cover 19 American football fields. It may seem like a drop in the bucket considering the sheer size of the deserts in China and around the world, but it's just one example of how scientists are finding ways to make deserts greener. So why do we want to grow trees in the desert? Well, for starters, deserts cover about 20% of Earth's land surface and are home to about 10% of all species on the planet. But they're also home to almost nobody. This is because deserts are really not suitable for human life. There's very little vegetation, and when there is, it tends to be really tough and thorny. Also, desert plants have to contend with high temperatures during the day and freezing temperatures at night, strong winds, and of course very little water. All of these factors make it difficult for plants to survive in the desert, let alone grow into large trees. But in recent years, scientists have figured out ways to make deserts more hospitable to trees. One way is by planting trees in areas where the soil has been enriched with organic matter. By adding organic matter to the soil, scientists can create an environment that is more conducive to plant growth. This can be done by adding compost, manure, or even sewage sludge to the soil. Another way is by planting trees in areas where the water table is close to the surface. This means that the trees will have access to water that is relatively easy to tap into. This can be done by drilling shallow wells or by building structures that collect and store rainwater. Finally, scientists can also plant trees in areas where the desert pavement has been removed. Desert pavement is a layer of rocks and pebbles that forms on the surface of the desert soil. It helps to prevent erosion, but it can also make it difficult for plants to take root. So now that we know how scientists are making deserts more hospitable to trees, let's talk about why we want to do this in the first place. Well, for starters, trees are really good at cleaning up pollution. They absorb carbon dioxide and other pollutants from the air and store them in their tissues. This helps to improve air quality and can mitigate the effects of climate change. Trees also help to prevent soil erosion. Their roots bind the soil together and help to prevent it from being blown or washed away by wind or water. This is especially important in deserts where the soil is already at risk of erosion. Perhaps most importantly, though, trees are a renewable resource. Unlike fossil fuels, which are formed over millions of years from the remains of ancient organisms, trees can be grown and harvested in a relatively short period of time. This makes them a sustainable source of energy and other products. Now let's look at some of the ways that scientists are turning deserts into forests. One approach that has been used in places like China and India is to simply plant a lot of trees. This may sound like a simple solution, but it's actually quite complicated. For example, scientists need to figure out which species of tree to plant. They also need to find a way to water the trees and protect them from animals that might want to eat them. Nevertheless, this approach has been surprisingly successful in some cases. For example, in the state of Haryana in India, the government planted 50 million trees over the course of 5 years. By 2020, more than half of them were still alive. That's a pretty impressive feat considering the hostile environment that these trees are growing in. Another approach to turning deserts into forests is to use animals to do the work for you. This may sound like a crazy idea, but it's actually been done with some success. For example, in the Sahara Desert, the government has been planting acacia trees. These trees are particularly well suited to the desert environment as they have deep roots that allow them to access underground water sources. The government has been planting the trees by hand, but they hope to one day use animals to do the job. They've started by training camels to carry small trees and then plant them. Camels are well suited to this task as they can travel long distances without needing water, and they are also resistant to snake bite, which is a common danger for workers who are planting trees in the desert. A third approach to turning deserts into forests is to use drones. Drones can be used to plant seeds or small trees in hard-to-reach areas of the desert. They can also be used to monitor the health of the trees and adjust watering schedules as needed. This approach is still in its early stages, but it has the potential to be very effective. Of course, turning deserts into forests is not without its challenges. For example, it's important to remember that deserts are home to many species of plants and animals that have evolved to thrive in these environments. Introducing new species of plants and animals can have a negative impact on native species. Additionally, changing the environment of a desert can have far-reaching consequences that we may not be able to predict. However, the benefits of turning deserts into forests are just too great to ignore. As our planet continues to warm and our demand for resources grows, we need to find new ways to grow food and generate energy. Turning deserts into forests may not be a perfect solution, but it's definitely worth exploring. In addition to the approaches we've already discussed, there are a number of other innovative ways that scientists are turning deserts into forests. For example, some researchers are experimenting with using nanotechnology to create tiny tubes that can deliver water to tree roots. Others are developing new types of drought-resistant crops that can grow in desert conditions. Still, others are working on ways to capture carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and use it to grow plants. These are just a few of the exciting developments in the field of desert agriculture. As our understanding of plant biology and ecology grows, we'll continue to develop new and innovative ways to grow food in the desert. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll be able to turn entire deserts into fertile farmlands. If you enjoyed this video, you might also like our video on why trees are so important. In that video, we explore the many ways that trees benefit our planet and our lives. We also discuss the threats that trees face and what we can do to protect them.